One of my really good friends asked me this like a few months ago. She asked me, Enna, I really want to be a VTuber. What are some cons and pros? And I think I might have listed a little bit too much cons because I just, I like to focus on the negatives. I'm just kidding. I just like to, I don't like to sugarcoat things. And, I did tell her many cons. But I did tell her, like, truthfully... Oh, sorry, I did tell her many pros is what I meant. And then I did tell her truthfully, like, what cons she would probably face. And so I told her... So she asked me things like, so what are the pros to being a VTuber? And I was like, well, if you like to talk to people, but you're kind of like an introvert like me, and you just it's easier in my opinion to talk to people like this so that you like get to connect to a lot of people, but you don't really exert too much energy. I mean, you still exert a lot of energy. Like if you stream for 7 hours, that's quite tiring, but for the most part, like instead of, for example, talking to a group of like, let's say, just say 100 people, that's very like anxiety inducing, but like obviously through streaming, it is a little easier. You don't see them, you kind of just read their messages, you miss a few of the messages, but that's like kind of normal. So you do reach more people, so that's the fun part. And I guess another thing I said that was really great is you get to kind of, you basically get to show your creativity. So like, this is actually a field where like, if you are a creative person, you can really show that off. Because that's, I mean, what else do? You don't really just sit there. You could like sit there and, just talk all day, but usually like everyone does have some sort of like creative thing that they want to do, you know what I mean? So there's definitely that. I'm creative, but I burn out too fast always. Well, I do too, but there's a little bit of like, you do build up stamina, so as you stream you do build up stamina. Like I was really tired. I think when I debuted, like our manager sons like kind of pushed us to just like put ourselves out there. Like they didn't say like stream 7 days a week, we get to kind of like choose, but it's smart to kind of like debut and then stream consistently, maybe like the first week at the very least. So like I think all of us in Ethyria, like after we debut, our streaming schedules were like, we streamed every single day. That seems to be very like common. Is it healthy? Not really, but it's like the first week so that people can get to know you and stuff. But yeah, after that first week, I was so tired. I've never been so tired in my life. Well, that's not true, but it's a different tired. Like, it's very mentally exhausting. Streaming is very mentally exhausting. My friend who was asking me these questions, she was like, like, do you think I'd be a good fit? And I was like, I think everyone can be a good fit, but the thing is that you really have to be like, I guess you kind of have to have like thicker skin. Yeah, you definitely have to have thicker skin, otherwise like you will probably get a mental breakdown, pretty sure. I already know a lot of people who have like gone through that, and it's not the healthiest way to like release the stress. Like having a breakdown usually means that you've been pushing yourself too hard and stuff like that. But it does happen very often, which is kind of sad. You can't let everything you read bother you. Yeah, so like, and also I did read this. I read something really long ago. Like, I really like psychology, and I was reading this thing about like, I forgot what it was called, but like basically it talks about people and like how they think, and like how they kind of like more or less react to certain things. And they say that like if you were to read, for example, something, if you were to read something like negative versus something positive, you would, most people, not saying all, most people would actually remember the negative thing more. Unfortunately, I don't think they really explain too much into detail why. Like, it's kind of like, in a way, it's scientifically unknown as to why we do that, but it's said that, like, well, we have to, anything we sense as like danger through our feelings and intuition, we, I guess, like, you remember it's for survival purposes, you know, things like that, you know. But I feel like we should evolve to the point where maybe we wouldn't activate things like that. I don't know, but it is very common. I guess it's really hard to completely know why, but that could be like a big factor, you know? So yeah, like, unfortunately we are wired to kind of pay more attention to like negative things. But the thing is, the great thing is, once you kind of are aware of that, like if you know you tend to focus on negative things, it's not like it's impossible for you to rewire your brain. Will it take some work? Yes, absolutely. But everything takes work, you know? Everything takes work, and if you work on it, it will probably be very useful. You know? Self-gaslighting? I don't think it's like that. I think that's a little like far. Like, you're not like gaslighting yourself to believe something that's not true. Like, you have to think realistically. Like, for example, if you're going to be talking to a bunch of people, the more people there are, obviously the more like people there's going, obviously the more opinions you'll get. And you know, most of us are very privileged to live in places where you can be very opinionated, and you know, you can say things and you don't really get too much in trouble for it. And you know, it's not like every single one of us has like a super duper different opinion. But yeah, like the bigger audience you get, the more like, how do I say this? You know, to say it simply, I guess you could say the more haters you get. But it's just more different people, which is fine, you know, it's very normal. But that's what I was telling my friend about, YouTubing, or just like honestly streaming in general. You just have to like, you just kind of have to develop a little bit of thicker skin. Otherwise, it's gonna be really difficult to really take everything in. Like, I think there's like a time where you should kind of like listen to things that you might not want to listen to. So for example, let's say like, oh, today I did something on stream and it wasn't really like the best topic to talk about, and a whole bunch of people were like, oh, and I don't feel comfortable talking about that. I mean, like, I think on the internet, most of us will go like, oh my god, what the fuck is she talking about, you know? And there's probably just like 5% of you who are like, I don't think this is a good topic to be on, you know? Most of us will just be very reactive and be like, what the fuck, why would you say stuff like that? Like, you know, because it's the internet. I don't know, that's just my reason. So during those times, I think it's good to like take in it's not negative, I think it's more like feedback. So just take it in and be like, oh, okay, well, these sort of things probably like bother a lot of people, so maybe don't mention it again, because not a lot of people were very appreciative of this certain topic, for example. It's very rare that like majority of the chat will like be kind of against something. Very rare, unless you're like Unless you pull a really weird one where you're talking about like politics, then I'm like, okay, well, you kind of like put that on yourself, but you know, that's not what I'm here for, so that's not my problem, you know. ちょっと also